This video shows Kayla Brown chained up in the slave storage container of Todd Kohlhepp, the Amazon review killer. Between 2003 and 2016, he murdered at least 7 people in South Carolina, dropping several clues along the way. He left several reviews on Amazon products that he used in the killings, like this one that reads, "Keep in your car when you have to hide the bodies and left the full-size shovel at home." In 2016, Kayla and her boyfriend Charles went missing after they went to clean Todd's residence. No one heard from them for months until a post was made to Charles' Facebook page saying that he and Kayla were expecting a baby. Shortly after, an old photo of the couple was posted with the caption, "We are fine." This raised suspicions, leading police to trace these posts to a storage unit on Todd's property. There, they freed Kayla and took Todd into custody, where he bragged about burying several bodies on the property as well, including Kayla's boyfriend. He was given 7 life sentences, 1 for each of his murders, despite him confessing to many more. New things and shit. A new strain of COVID has been detected in France and it's being called IHU. And while the World Health Organization says it's no biggie so far to the new strand IHU, I hate you. A Florida man was recently arrested after cops found drugs wrapped around his, The man stated that the drugs were not his. And for the record, I'm no expert or qualified in any way to say this, but for some reason I don't believe him. And Alexa recently tried to kickstart the robot world takeover after telling a young boy to touch a live charging cable with a penny. The Alexa had reportedly found the challenge on the internet, home of many safe and kid-friendly challenges. North Korea is claiming that Kim Jong-un's father invented burritos after a recent increase in popularity among the country's people. Buy our burritos or we'll send your family to prison. Weirdest world records that will make your skin crawl, Part 7. Legendary PC gamer Rocky No Hands has the world record for the most consecutive victory royales using a quad-stick mouth-operated joystick. He achieved this feat in 2019, winning a whopping 509 games in a row. After retiring from real estate, 60-year-old Bernie Baker became the world's oldest male stripper. He went on to win 40 stripping contests before dying of prostate cancer in 2007. Ryan Stock has the record for the most condoms sucked through a nose at once. Yeah, you heard me. In 2012, my man inhaled 3 rubbers through his right nostril and pulled it out of his mouth. At 17 years old, Macy Curran has the world's longest legs. She set the record with her almost 4.5 feet tall legs. She's 6'10", meaning that girl is 60% leg.
The couple seemed like a normal, typical family on the outside.
No, they didn't.
Agreed. These two look like psychopaths, and spoiler alert, one of them actually was. After 18 years of an unhappy marriage, Marilyn Depew filed for divorce from her husband Dennis. He was only allowed to see his 3 children twice a week, and when he went to go pick them up on Easter Day, they refused, causing him and Marilyn to get into an intense argument. He blamed her for ruining his life and proceeded to push Marilyn down the stairs, causing her to receive several injuries. Dennis then loaded her into his car and told his kids that he was taking their mom to the hospital. However, the next day, 2 siblings were driving down the road when they came across a man holding a white sheet soaked in blood. They called the police, who discovered Marilyn's body in a nearby forest with gunshot wounds to the back of her head. After, they tracked Dennis down for over a year until he took his own life in a standoff with police.
Explaining the backstory to viral videos.
The tiny room in this video belongs to Elizabeth Fritzl, who was imprisoned by her father Joseph for 24 years. She was locked up in the cellar against her will at the age of 18 and was abused, tormented, and assaulted by her father repeatedly. This abuse led to Elizabeth having 7 children with her father, 3 of which lived with her and 3 were taken by Joseph and his wife, and 1 he killed shortly after its birth. However, in 2008, one of the children in the cellar became deathly sick, so Joseph was forced to take them to the hospital. She took her only chance to talk to the cops and told them everything. Joseph's charged with the murder of the baby Michael, as well as enslavement, incest, rape, coercion, and false imprisonment. He pled guilty to all charges and is currently serving life in prison. Life cheat codes that you'll probably need someday, Part 1. If you like one song by an artist but don't like the rest of their stuff, you can actually look up who produced it and see what other music that they've made. Producers actually play a pretty big role in how the final song turns out, so you can find a lot of cool music that way. Now, I actually did this with a song called The Spins by Mac Miller, and I found a lot of cool music that I wouldn't have found otherwise. When you sign up for anything online, put the website's name as your middle name. That way, if you ever receive spam emails, you'll know who sold your info. Now, this one's pretty common, but I use it so much I feel the need to tell you guys, if you're ever trying to decide between two things, just flip a coin. Before the coin even lands, you'll know what option to go with. If you're the type of person that struggles to finish a to-do list, make sure you have at least one thing on it that's pretty easy to cross off. Showering, putting on your socks, reading your emails. This works because once you start it, your brain wants to finish the list. If you see a kid wearing a helmet, tell them how cool you think it is. They'll think it's awesome now and wear it in the future. Life cheat codes that you'll probably need someday, Part 1. If you like one song by an artist but don't like the rest of their stuff, you can actually look up who produced it and see what other music that they've made. Producers actually play a pretty big role in how the final song turns out, so you can find a lot of cool music that way. Now, I actually did this with a song called The Spins by Mac Miller, and I found a lot of cool music that I wouldn't have found otherwise. When you sign up for anything online, put the website's name as your middle name. That way, if you ever receive spam emails, you'll know who sold your info. Now, this one's pretty common, but I use it so much I feel the need to tell you guys, if you're ever trying to decide between two things, just flip a coin. Before the coin even lands, you'll know what option to go with. If you're the type of person that struggles to finish a to-do list, make sure you have at least one thing on it that's pretty easy to cross off. Showering, putting on your socks, reading your emails. This works because once you start it, your brain wants to finish the list. If you see a kid wearing a helmet, tell them how cool you think it is. They'll think it's awesome now and wear it in the future. Gruesome torture methods that you'll be glad you weren't around for, Part 1. The brazen bull execution was a method used in ancient Greece where a flame at the bottom roasted you to death, and the head of the bull was designed in such a way that your screams would be filtered and contorted into the sounds of a real bull. On pirate ships, workers who refused to follow orders would be hung by their nails. Another method used by pirates was called keel hauling, in which the men were dragged under the ship until they died. And if this wasn't bad enough, the ship's hull was covered in barnacles so the man would be cut up as he drowned. Scaphism was an ancient Persian torture technique where criminals were stripped naked, tied to a boat, and then force-fed honey and milk until they got diarrhea, were covered in more honey, and set adrift in the ocean. This would then attract insects that would slowly but surely eat the men to death. Here are some facts that you probably didn't know that one day could save your life. Part 18. If you're ever stranded and desperately need food, most insects are a great option for a quick meal. They're full of nutrition and found pretty much everywhere, but be careful to avoid ones that are hairy, brightly colored, or have stingers. If you're in a situation where you need to catch some fish but don't have a fishing hook, you can actually repurpose a can tab by snipping one side of the loop to make a quick fishing hook. If you're ever being attacked by a monkey, give it any food you have because they're overly aggressive when they're hungry. And if you don't have food, make sure the monkey knows by showing your empty hands. If you're being strangled by a python, stop trying to pry it off. You're not strong enough. Bite it and poke at its eyes until it gets frustrated and leaves you alone. If someone is smothering you with a pillow, move your head to the side to breathe, and if that doesn't work, play dead. Likely your attacker doesn't know exactly how long they'll need to smother you for, and eventually, they'll give up. 3 famous songs with terrifying backstories. Snoop Dogg's brother-in-law, Jermaine Fuller, was the singer of Peanut Butter Jelly Time. He died after an 11-hour standoff with police despite Snoop begging him to surrender. 15-year-old Jeremy Dell shot himself in the head in front of an entire class of 30 kids. His classmates felt extremely guilty for not befriending him, and his death inspired the song Jeremy by Pearl Jam. Doc Pomus of the Drifters wrote "Save the Last Dance for Me" because he was in a wheelchair due to polio and wasn't able to dance with his wife. At the wedding, he watched his friends dance with her and went home later to write the song. I've added these songs as well as many others to a playlist, and trust me, it's much different listening when you know the dark truth.
Spread your wings and fly, go!